Good morning, family and friends. We are excited to welcome you to our first PB Schools Coffee Talk. Some of you may be wondering, what is PB Schools Coffee Talk? Well, it is our new series that we're going to put out every Wednesday at 10 a.m., where the PB Schools admin team will discuss topics that range from operations within the schools, teaching preschoolers, and spotlighting our teachers. While some of you may know, others may not know, that PB Schools is made up of 4 schools and 3 locations. A Baby's World and Palm Beach Preschool, our West Palm Beach location, Little Blue Academy, our Palm Springs location, and Palm Beach Preschool, our Lake Worth location. Right now, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our phenomenal admin team. Miss Mary, Director of Little Blue Academy, Palm Springs. Miss Monica, Director of Palm Beach Preschool, Lake Worth. Miss Yadalise, Program Director of A Baby's World and Palm Beach Preschool, West Palm Beach. Miss Aileen, our Operational Director of A Baby's World and Palm Beach Preschool, West Palm Beach. Miss Karla, owner of PB Schools, and myself, Miss Shannon, Director of PB Schools. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Karla, and she is going to share her story.
Hello, everyone. So my story began on how I became an owner of a preschool many years ago when I had my first job out of college as a speech pathologist. And I worked for the school district here in Palm Beach County. And I worked at a Title I school where I fell in love with the students there. But I did notice one particular theme that was going on with a lot of the students. And it wasn't just the students that I had in my therapy. Talking to the teachers there, it was very, very common across the board. And what I noticed was the children were coming into kindergarten with very little pre-literacy skills, very little pre-math skills, and they were really struggling. A lot of those children that I worked with came from like really challenging environments. Maybe mom was working 2 jobs. Grandma had to help out with the children and the childcare. Many challenging environments, a lot of different reasons. And for one thing is also finance. You know, they barely had money to make ends meet. So they didn't have the extra money to put towards books and educational learning toys to even help the children along their route. Also, many had, they were English speakers of, different languages. And so I said to myself, there's nothing wrong with these children's cognition. They just needed that extra support. And I used to think to myself, and this is before I even had children, man, if every child had the opportunity to be exposed to the pre-literacy, pre-math skills, these children would come in so much better prepared for kindergarten, which then makes learning so much easier through the rest of the grades. The children struggled in kindergarten, and then they got moved on to first grade, which then struggled with first grade and got moved on to second grade because they were still trying to grasp skills that they could have easily had in the birth when they were between the ages of birth and 5. So that always stuck in my head as to what are we doing? The children really need more, and it would definitely just help our world in general, and just, help with education with the children. So moving forward, I ended up having children of my own, and I worked, and we had no family around here, so my children had to go to childcare. When we were moving, I had found a childcare center that I liked, but then we had moved and I needed to find a different childcare center. And when I was looking around, I couldn't find any that I really liked. Nothing met my standards. So I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if I ever owned a business, I would own a childcare center. Because first of all, I love the population. Second of all, I always knew that early education was so critically important for children, because I saw what happened. Children with normal intelligence, but if they weren't exposed, they just didn't have that foundation. So my husband, who definitely is more business minded, I'm more educationally minded. Yeah, I was just kind of venting to him one day, and I said, hey, if I ever owned a business, I would own a childcare business. And I guess part of me was serious and the other part was just kind of kidding, but he took it totally serious, and he went out and he found our first school. And that ended up being our schools on Military Trail, which is a baby's world in Palm Beach Preschool. And that's how my journey began in childcare.
Okay. So was opening a preschool as easy as you thought it would be?
No, not at all. It was so difficult. There were so many struggles. First of all, I'm thinking, well, I know how to teach. I know what children need to know at this age. And wow, if children are even struggling with speech and language, I can help them out with their speech and language difficulties that they may be having. And no, it wasn't that way. I had to learn management and leadership skills. So that was a whole different area of what I had to learn. And there were a lot of peaks and valleys. And when times were rough, it was rough. But I think because I had such a passion for this field, that's what pushed me through it. Because if I didn't have this passion and I didn't have this like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, I don't know if I would have made it. But I did, and I pushed through it and I made it.
So what are some of the things that you wanted to make sure that are occurring in your preschool?
So I want to make sure, first of all, that children are safe. Children are emotionally cared for. Children are learning. And parents are welcomed and they feel heard and listened to.
And what are some of the things that you do differently today that you did from when you first became a preschool owner? So there's lots of things I did differently. So for one thing, I had to learn management and leadership skills. And so I went and I studied those. I did them through formal education, going to Palm Beach State, taking business classes. I did it through reading books, listening to podcasts. Any way I could get information on leadership, I did. And I would implement those things. So that was one thing that I did differently because I really needed to do that to change. Also, I joined any initiative that I could get my hands on in the county. I figured it's best to join an initiative now because if the county is pushing this or if the state is pushing a certain way of teaching, it's going to become mandatory. So I used to tell my admin, listen, let's join it now. I know it's a lot of work, but let's join it now because you get resources and you get more trainings and you get more support. So we joined a lot of different initiatives. The Quality Counts and Strong Minds and the Gold Pilot and Conscious Discipline Pilot. So when there were a lot of pilots going on, I always tried to get my foot in the door with that. And that helped us also grow. Other things that I do differently is just our culture. Our staff culture is so much better than what it was. I hire differently. I hire according to our company's values because we have values at in our company that we work really hard to follow and live by. So we always want to make sure that we're hiring somebody who we believe will fit those values because your culture is so important.
I can teach you how to teach, but I can't teach you how to love. I can't teach you how to be kind. That's kind of within that person. So it's something that we definitely look for in our hiring process.
So if we're thinking about materials, what are some of your must-have materials in the classrooms?
Oh, must-have materials. There's so many. First of all, our classrooms are divided into centers. So each center has a different type of material that it's going to be involved with it. So for example, we have the library center. In the library, we want a variety of books. We want soft books, hard books. We want books with multicultural real pictures in it. We want them with more of the fantasy type pictures. So that's just the book area, which is really important. We want to make sure we have writing materials and different types of paper, different types of writing instruments, crayons, pencils, markers, chalk. We want to have an art center so that the children can explore with art and be creative, because that's something that's really missing today. And it really, creativity actually helps the children problem solve and think abstractly. We have blocks and manipulatives, which work a lot on pre-math skills. We have the dramatic play area, which works on the children's social skills, just average communication, but they can also pretend play and pretend to be what they want to be when they grow up. Those are just a few of the many materials, on top of having a curriculum that will also guide you on certain materials. Right now we just purchased Frog Street curriculum for our entire school from birth to pre-K. We used to use a different curriculum, but we really liked the way the Frog Street was structured. So all of our locations now have that, and we just started to implement that this year.
How do you make sure the material is safe and the teachers are teaching the children how to use them properly?
Okay, so for safety, for one thing, we follow the guidelines. So a lot of toys will come in with, this is not suitable for children under the age of 3. If that's the case, we don't put that in our 2-year-old classroom. So we always follow those guidelines. If a toy breaks, which they do, immediately they're removed. We don't want any broken toys in the classroom. So that also helps keep the materials safe. The children safe from the materials. And there's a lot of activities that we can do. And I have teachers that will ask me all the time, and they're great activities, but it may be under close supervision of an adult. I'm very hesitant usually to let the teacher do that. Why? Because we have multiple children in our classrooms. And yes, the teacher is supervising them, but if they have to do close supervision with one child, now we're taking a lot of that supervision away from the other children. And I don't like that, because supervision is the key to safety. So I always want to make sure that the teachers are supervising properly. It's one of our biggest standards. And then I think you asked me something else. What was how the teachers are teaching with the materials? Is that what you asked me, Ms. Yadalise?
Teachers are teaching the children to use them properly.
How to use them properly. Okay, and then that goes through training. So our admin staff train our teachers constantly on how to utilize the materials. And also the curriculum will also guide the teacher on how to utilize certain materials. And we encourage our teachers to constantly go for trainings. The trainings alone will also help the teacher implement and utilize those toys properly.
Okay, how can the parents be sure they're learning if when they ask them what they did at school, they say, I played?
That's a really common question. And children, mom and dad will say, oh, what did you do today? Oh, I played with my friends and I played with toys. And the parents are like, wait a minute, we're sending them here for an education, not to play. They can play at home. So what I want everyone who's listening to realize is that research shows children ages birth through age 5 learn best through play. That's why we have specific toys in specific areas, because those toys are meant to promote different academic features. Some toys, we'll call them for argument's sake, promote literacy, and some toys promote language, and some promote thinking or science or creativity. So every toy that we have in our school has a purpose behind it. And when children learn through play, they don't even realize they're learning. They choose the material of what they want. So for example, let's say they go and they pick a shape sorter off the shelf. A shape sorter, okay. We all have them probably. It's a very common toy. They're learning so much. From the moment they pick up that shape, they're getting fine motor skills, which is a precursor to writing. If they don't have strong muscles in their fingers, they're not going to be able to hold that pencil properly. When they pick up that shape and they're trying to put it into the shape sorter, they're learning shapes and sizes. They're also learning that they have to problem solve, because y'all know at first they can't get that shape into that specific spot, so they have to move it around. It teaches them persistence. It teaches them problem solving and prediction, because now they got to think, okay, I got a star and that's the triangle, although not probably using those words right there, but in their brain, they're just looking at the shape. They got to predict which one they're going to go into. So that's just a shape sorter on how many different things a shape sorter can teach a child versus everything else that we have in our learning environments here.
I know you work closely with all of us. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying, if your child says they just played, that's a great thing. I'm sorry, Ms. Monica, go ahead.
So I know that you work closely with all of us, and you mentioned the trainings. Since COVID, how has the trainings changed for the teachers and the staff?
So with COVID, sometimes whenever they say life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, we found the lemonade to make with COVID. And one thing that we're doing that we just never thought about was utilizing Zoom, which we're doing right now. But we utilize it now with our teacher trainings. And we're able to get multiple trainings in at nap time. Short trainings, but they're very educational to help the teachers move along. And they revolve around curriculum, and they revolve around just professionalism in the classroom. And it has been so amazing that the teachers are really, really enjoying it. But not only that, you guys go into the classrooms every day. You do informal observations on the teachers every day, and you provide feedback to them. That feedback helps that teacher grow. We also have formal quarterly reviews. We don't do them annually. We're doing them quarterly. So we're meeting with those teachers, and we're developing goals. We're seeing, are you on track of meeting your goal? Maybe we need to adjust the goal. Everybody is different. So you guys are meeting with those teachers to help move them along their professional journey in early childhood. And then Ms. Shannon and I meet with you guys quarterly to make sure you guys are moving along your professional journey. And all of that, it's just a ripple effect. And, we're helping you guys are helping the teachers, and the teachers then are taking care of the children and making sure the children are learning, which is our ultimate goal.
So what kind of standards do you look for when we hire our staff?
So hiring. One thing that I did poorly when I first became an owner, because I didn't understand how to do it, and I would just hire anybody. Right now, and I think I may have mentioned it a little bit earlier, is our company has something called core values. So we have core values, which are our 5 most important values that we have. We have a philosophy, we have a vision and a mission, statement. And those 4 things help us with hiring. So yes, education of a teacher is important. However, we need to make sure that they're meeting the minimum standards for the state. And then based upon that, we can do training. We can help that teacher move along. But it's really important that that teacher understands that they need to love the children, because social emotional learning is what we pride ourselves on. If you go on our website, you'll get to see that we talk about that a lot. We focus on social emotional learning, which to me is the foundation of all the learning in early childhood. Because if a child doesn't feel safe, if a child comes to school and they're very anxious, something just may have happened, they're not set up for learning. So we teach the teachers that they need to start off with providing a lot of love and guidance, which goes to one of our curriculums called conscious discipline. When we're hiring, we're asking ourselves as administrators, do we think that applicant has the heart to do what we want them to do? Are they showing us that they're caring? Are they showing us that they're responsive? Those skills are more important to us than their higher education skills, because we can teach you a lot on how to teach the children, but I can't teach you to love. I can't teach you to be patient. That's a much more difficult skill to teach. So I want my staff, my incoming staff, to have those basic skills. And that's one of our big things that we look for when we hire.
Okay, Ms. Karla, and the last question, what goals have you achieved since you purchased your first school?
What goals have I achieved since my first school? A lot. For one thing, I had 1 location and now I have 3. So that's a big achievement. But with that being said, that didn't come easily. I had to do a lot of achieving before I was able to get to location number 2. And those are our hiring practices, I think, are one of the biggest achievements. When we joined initiatives, they give us a baseline score, and then we achieve by going higher, by achieving a higher threshold, because all of these initiatives that we join, they involve us being monitored and assessed constantly. There's always somebody in our school monitoring us, assessing us. And again, that was pre-COVID. It has definitely scaled back since COVID. But there was always somebody from the county in our schools, looking over us. I also took on a lot of roles in the community, reaching out to, let's say, Palm Beach State and getting really involved with them, reaching out to the Children's Services Council, getting involved with them. And a lot of that community involvement with a lot of our local partners, they get to know that, hey, Palm Beach Preschool and Little Blue Academy and A Baby's World, those administrators and teachers, they really care about the kids. And it gives us a good name for the community. And those are things that I've achieved. And by being able to achieve those things, then I was given support then to open up other locations. And I'm sure there's other achievements, but off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, I know I speak for all of us when I say that we are honored to be a part of your vision and mission and this wonderful school family. And
I could not do it without you guys, because without you, there's no way I could do any of this. So as much as you're honored, I'm also very honored that you guys are there for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And To our audience, we hope that you enjoyed our very first episode of PB Schools Coffee Talk, and we invite you to grab a cup of joe and join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye.